So I'm kind of interested with a company like GE is how's the maker community influencing larger companies, larger manufacturers? And I think the other side is I think there's opportunities for makers to create products that live in industrial settings, not just consumer settings like industrial controls and instrumentation. So I would like to welcome Christina Furstoss. She's a Global Technology Director at GE Global Research Center, where she leads about 450 technologists across the world. Welcome, Christine.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Dale. And on behalf of the General Electric Company, I couldn't be happier not only to be here, but to be one of the title sponsors for this, because as all of you know, as all of you feel every day, there's a tremendous shift that's occurring. There's a shift that's occurring not only in the technologies we work on, but there's just a shift occurring in the entire attitude of how companies think about manufacturing, about how they think about where are they going with their products. And that's due to you. It's due to the fact that there are ideas out there. It's due to the fact that the maker movement is here. And it's due to technology innovations such as 3D printing. I like to think of it really as the third industrial revolution. And that's a pretty bold statement, the third industrial revolution. But I'm passionate about it because it makes us think that we are going to work differently moving forward, and we're not going to turn back. This is going to be driven and powered by you and by innovation. But there comes a responsibility thinking about how we work together, how we make sure that these innovations truly are powering not only the way we think, but the way we work. And I'm here to tell you that companies like General Electric want to be your partner. We want to be able to dream of new products and not only think about what could be, but what should be and how do we make it work. And that's because with technologies such as 3D printing, to us, complexity is free. Now, it's never free totally, but all the constraints that we are comfortable with, all the constraints that the big industrial giants have worked with, thinking about how we have to fit it into our factory, where's the tooling going to come from, who owns the intellectual property, that's gone. The constraints that we had because of the machines that we had needed to be able to work with the products they were making, they're gone. Because now we can think about 3D printing and technologies such as new types of sensors, technologies such as new ways of using lasers, new ways of using information can drive us to think differently about products. It truly is the third industrial revolution because it's going to change the way we work. If you don't believe me, here's an article that was in the New York Daily News over the weekend talking about a gentleman, it's a carpenter in South Africa, who had lost a number of his digits on his hand due to an accident 2 years ago. Couldn't afford new types of technologies, couldn't afford any sort of expensive prosthetics, worked with a designer, and for under $500, has a new hand. You can't get more complex than the human body. And if we can do that for people, we need to be assured that we have the responsibility to drive our thinking, our methods, and our innovation technologies into new products. Why I'm so excited about things like 3D printing is, again, it not only is a moving technology, but it makes us think different. It makes us think about what is possible and how do we remove those boundaries that we had before on complexity of the product, fit into the factory, make sure that everyone understands that it has to fit in this tool and it can only be made in this one location. We need to remove that. And we are. Companies like GE are moving technologies such as 3D printing to the industrial scale. Our next product, which will be released for the aviation business, an aircraft engine, which will have over 100,000 pounds of thrust, and of which we will be producing over 5,000 just from our first batch of orders, will have 3D printed parts in it. They will be in our combustion system. They will be powering not only the way we think, but also the way we move. And we did this because we opened up our mind. We said, we no longer live in a linear world. We have for decades designed a part, chosen material, and figured out how to manufacture it. We need to change, and those days are changing. 3D printing is truly, for me, a paradigm of what's next in the way we design and the way that we manufacture. Because we need to integrate, in a way we never have before, the design, the materials, and the manufacturing. 3D printing, the parts that we're making here will be made out of a very complex metallic alloy. But we're also looking at ceramic parts that will go in ultrasound sensors that will be able to be delivered right away to rural areas to help with healthcare. We're looking at parts that will be able to make transportation possible in parts of the world that before couldn't get goods and services because we can make the spare parts. What are we doing here? We're not only building up a complex part that we could never make before, but layer by layer. We're making not only parts, but we're making properties. We're making sure that the material is strong enough that it's going to last decades. We're making sure that it's tough enough that it can be used in both the desert and in the Arctic. That is a true responsibility to be able to build material and form at the same time. And if we do it right with our designers, it allows us to get complexity for free. It allows us to be able to build in features that we never could before, to make it last longer, to make it be safer, and to make it be more efficient. That is true power. And that is what we have with technologies today that the maker movement is driving. But there's three important aspects that I'd like to cover to be assured that we all understand what it's going to take to be part of this revolution. Now, I love seeing the new innovations. I love them because it makes me think. So Carla was talking before about sensors and how we think about sensors and how we power them. Well, I use sensors too. I use them in products such as this. These sensors, I want them to be nimble. I want them to be flexible, but they also have to operate at thousands of degrees. How do we do that? How do we take the best of ideas from one area and move it into an area that we want to make sure, again, that is reliable, safe, and durable? Well, for me, the first of the three aspects is how do we ensure that we have an open and collaborative workforce? Not only people who have the ideas, know how to enter into a company like General Electric, which previously looked so complex, and didn't know how to break that paradigm. How do you work with a company that has locations in so many countries and so many places? I don't even know where to start. Well, it's a responsibility to make sure that we do. And one of the actions that we've done is we've decided to launch what we call our manufacturing quests. We've launched these for the first round around 3D printing because of the excitement we have for this technology. So in conjunction with GrabCAD, we had a quest. We shared with the world a part that we use in our aircraft engine. A part that we have been producing for dozens of years with very good but very traditional suppliers. We love the technology that they were using to make our parts, but we wanted to think differently. We had to think differently. And so we opened a quest. We said, we want a part that meets these types of requirements. Here's how it has to fit. We can't make it too big, we can't make it too small. It has to be able to be additively or 3D manufacturable. And we got hundreds and hundreds of responses. People who had never before thought about the aviation industry. People who had great ideas, people who had great software, people who had great new materials. We brought them together in a matter of weeks. And we shared and we learned. We had entries that came from very large companies and people working out of home. We had people who were deep in industry, people who were in universities, and teenagers. We had people from all points of the globe sharing and learning. This is what the third industrial revolution is about. Focus on innovation. This is around 3D printing. This is around software. This is around sharing. We can do things we couldn't do before. We want those ideas, but we have to also learn. So we have our open and collaborative workforce. GE has done this request. We're going to continue. We're going to learn. We're going to be able to understand what are all the technologies out there. Again, that's why it's so important that we're here today. That's why it's so important we're seeing who all of you are, what you do, how you think. But we also need to think about how do we have agile processes. We work in industries that are very hard, with very complex systems. And for all the right reasons, we have a lot of questions that have to be answered to people such as regulators, such as the FAA and FDA. We want to make sure these are safe. We want to make sure things meet certain standards. But we also want to move fast. And so for me, it's about thinking, what are those new paradigms for the third industrial revolution? We all bring strengths. I love working with all of you because you have not only great ideas, but flexibility and diversity in who you're going to talk to and what software you're going to use and how you're going to bring it together. And that leads in many ways to speed. But I also know that I love the company I work with and I love the products because we do have great process. We can look at scale. We can bring a part from an idea into an aircraft engine in very short times. We are never at a shortage for ideas. It's wonderful working for such a multi-diverse company because we can think about, here's a great thing we did for locomotives. How can we make sure that power generation is enhanced by that? We understand systems. We understand how things have to work together. And we do have a tremendous amount of resources to be able to think about how we look at scale. Because that's one of the areas that's driving the need for this third industrial revolution. And that is the fact that the global economy is changing. How do we think about more distributed manufacturing? How do we think about more scalable processes? How do we think about introducing new types of materials? We need the scale. We all bring strengths. And we need to think about the processes we do together to leverage those strengths to make us all strong and better. And that brings me to my last point, and probably for me the most critical, is it's all about, in any new paradigm, building a new ecosystem. Whether it's makers working with industry, or industry working with different government entities, or different universities and national labs, trying to understand how do we identify along with venture capitalists, who are the great teams out there. It's an ecosystem. And it's an ecosystem because, once again, we're going to have design, materials, and manufacturing working in ways that we never have before. We're going to assure that we're able to share. We're going to assure that we're able to optimize the topology for a certain type of feature because we know that there are people out there who have that great idea how to do that. But that ecosystem requires so much more. It requires people who make machines. It requires people who make materials that go in. It requires people who upgrade the software and talk about the internet, exchanging ideas and what formats do we have to have. It's an ecosystem. We are now part of a new type of community. And as with any new community, we all have to play a part. It's not going to be fitting to one type of standard. That is not how we're going to leverage our strengths. We're going to leverage our strengths by sharing, by understanding, and by learning. And once again, that's what 3D printing for me is so exciting. I might be taking it to new areas, such as new types of metals, new types of ceramics, but it's really around this concept of working together. And companies like General Electric are committed to that. But we need you, we want to work with you through our quest, through more open collaboration, and really by thinking about this as an ecosystem where we are all players and we all have responsibilities. So I'd like to welcome you to the third industrial revolution. I thank you for creating it. We're excited to be a part because it is maker-driven and innovation-powered.